Welcome back, focused learners, to another deep dive on The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that seriously sounds like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood thriller, but it is entirely real. Okay, so let's dive right into this. We are looking at one of history's absolute greatest maritime puzzles, the mystery of the Mary Celeste. This is the case. It's the one that literally established the whole ghost ship archetype in popular culture and maritime lore. So get ready, because the facts we're going to review today, they are going to completely challenge every logical instinct you have. I just want you to let that sink in for a second. 10 people just vanished into thin air. And yet the ship just kept right on sailing without them. We're talking about a captain, his family, and a highly experienced crew who seemingly evaporated into the ocean breeze, leaving a perfectly good vessel drifting all by itself. So this isn't just a story about a missing ship, right? It's a story about human behavior that absolutely defies explanation. Section 1. An eerie ocean discovery. December 1872. Okay, so to truly understand a mystery like this, we've got to understand the setting. Picture this: the cold, vast, totally unforgiving waters of the Atlantic Ocean, right on a shipping route heading eastward toward the Strait of Gibraltar. It is a lonely, lonely place to be. And it's exactly where our story takes its first unsettling turn. Looking at this timeline, it perfectly frames the chilling 10-day dark period of this whole mystery. So in November of 1872, the Mary Celeste departs New York City, bound for Genoa, Italy. Everything seems totally fine. We know from the ship's daily logbook that the final entry was made on November 25th. But then, fast forward to December 5th, the ship is discovered completely adrift. Sometime in those 10 intervening days, Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, his 2-year-old daughter, and 7 really experienced crew members completely vanished. What on earth happened between November 25th and December 5th? Well, the discovery itself is just haunting. The Mary Celeste was an American brigantine, and on December 5th, a British merchant ship, the Dei Gratia, was sailing through the Atlantic when its captain spotted her out in the distance. And the Dei Gratia's captain noticed something was really off. The Mary Celeste was sailing erratically. She was drifting aimlessly on this lazy zigzag course. It was moving, yeah, but clearly nobody was at the wheel. Seeing a ship behaving like an actual ghost out in the open ocean, well, the crew of the Dei Gratia made the fateful decision to board her and see if they could help. Section 2, the bizarre crime scene, a ship intact. All right, let's shift into detective mode here. When the crew of the Dei Gratia actually stepped onto that deck, they stepped into one of the deepest, most profound mysteries in all of maritime history. Just look at this stark contrast between what remained and what vanished. Left behind, the crew's personal valuables, their money, their clothes, a full 6-month supply of food, and their massive cargo. But what vanished? 10 human beings, a single lifeboat, the ship's papers, and a few navigation instruments. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is that this completely 100% rules out a pirate attack. I mean, pirates pillage, right? They steal valuables, they take the cargo, they take the food. They definitely don't leave behind money and clothes while somehow forcing an entire crew into a single lifeboat. The evidence on the ship completely contradicts the most common maritime dangers of that era. And it gets weirder. The Mary Celeste wasn't just barely afloat, she was in excellent seaworthy condition. The galley was fully stocked with that massive 6-month supply of food and plenty of water. The crew's quarters were undisturbed, their belongings entirely untouched, and honestly, perhaps most chillingly, the daily logbook was just sitting there, left open right on the captain's desk. As we noted, that last entry on November 25th reported totally normal weather. There was absolutely zero indication of any danger or panic. It was just an ordinary day. Then there's the cargo. 1701. That is the massive number of barrels of industrial alcohol that the Mary Celeste was transporting. This was a highly valuable, highly volatile cargo. And when the Geogracia crew inspected the hold, they found that this massive shipment was fully intact. The ship was carrying its intended weight. But out of those 1,701 barrels, exactly 9, just 9, were later found to be mysteriously empty. Not 10, not 100. 9. It's this incredibly specific detail from the source material that investigators have literally obsessed over for over a century. Why were those specific 9 barrels empty while the other 1,692 were perfectly fine? Keep this clue in your back pocket because it is absolutely central to one of our upcoming theories. So this brings us to the ultimate baffling question at the very heart of this explainer. Why would an experienced captain, a man who brought his wife and his 2-year-old toddler on this voyage, abandon a perfectly good, seaworthy ship? A captain's first duty is to his vessel. The ocean is incredibly dangerous, and a sturdy ship is your only real protection. Stepping into a tiny, fragile lifeboat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean is a desperate, absolute last resort. What could possibly compel Captain Briggs to make that call? Section 3. Evaluating the 3 theories, searching for logic. To try and answer that, we have to look at the hypotheses that have actually survived the test of time. We're going to look at each one impartially, and I kind of want you to act as the jury here. Test the clues we've just laid out against each of these possible scenarios. So, here's a high-level overview of our 3 prime suspects. Theory 1, the alcohol explosion, triggered by leaking fumes causing panic. Theory 2, a seaquake or weather event, where a sudden underwater threat or storm just scared the crew off. And Theory 3, insurance fraud, a dark, calculated plot to claim a massive salvage reward. We're going to evaluate each of these based strictly on the documented evidence found on board. Let's start with the alcohol explosion theory, which actually beautifully incorporates that clue of the 9 empty barrels we just discussed. Here is how it might have gone down. Step 1. Those 9 barrels leak volatile alcohol fumes into the ship's hold. Step 2. This creates a terrifying smell or, hey, maybe even a minor, localized explosion that blows the hatch. Step 3. Captain Briggs, fearing the entire ship of 1,701 barrels is about to detonate, rightfully panics. Step 4. He orders everyone into the single lifeboat, grabbing the ship's papers and nav instruments, planning to trail safely behind the ship until the fumes clear. But then, Step 5. Tragedy strikes. The tow line snaps, the Mary Celeste sails away on the wind, and the crew is left stranded in a tiny boat in the vast Atlantic. Honestly, it's a terrifyingly plausible chain of events. But what if it wasn't the cargo? Theory 2 posits that a sudden, terrifying natural anomaly threatened the ship. Imagine a severe, sudden underwater earthquake shaking the vessel to its core, or maybe a massive waterspout, like a tornado over water, bearing down on them. Now, even though the ship was later found in perfect condition, in the chaotic, terrifying moment of a sudden natural disaster, the captain might have honestly believed the ship was going down immediately. This could absolutely force an immediate panicked evacuation into the lifeboats. And then there's Theory 3. This one takes us away from natural disasters and right into the realm of human deception. The insurance fraud suspicion. Was it all just a setup? This theory questions whether the missing people and the, convenient discovery by the Dei Gratia was actually a calculated dark plot between the 2 captains. The goal? To claim massive salvage reward money from the insurance company for rescuing an abandoned ship. But to buy into this, you have to believe a captain would permanently vanish with his wife and toddler just for a payout. Section 4. An enduring maritime mystery, the ocean's secret. As we face this enduring maritime mystery, we really have to confront a frustrating reality. Because despite everything we've looked at today, from the untouched valuables to those 9 empty barrels, there is an absolute lack of definitive proof for any single theory. The evidence we have only tells us what didn't happen. I want to read this quote from our source material because I think it perfectly encapsulates why this is so baffling. There were no signs of violence, no bloodstains, and no damage to the ship from a massive storm. It literally appeared as though the captain and crew had simply calmly stepped into the lifeboat and rowed away into the open ocean, never to be seen or heard from again. It's the eerie tranquility of the scene that makes their disappearance feel so utterly unnatural. And so, over 150 years later, the ocean remains completely silent on the fate of those 10 souls. We've laid out the timeline, we've examined the pristine condition of the ship, and we've weighed the theories together, from explosive fumes to dark conspiracies. Now, it's over to you, focused learners. Look at the facts we've gathered today. Which theory do you believe holds water? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, keep questioning the evidence.